Hi everyone, I am coming at you live from a brand new location. I am down in Olympia today with a couple of people from the Puget Sound Estuarium. So everybody say hi to Paris, the executive director, and we've got Ariel, the education coordinator. Thanks for having us here today. We're super excited to get in and look at all the cool stuff. For those of you watching from home, if you want to post in the comments where you're watching from, we love to have that information. So go ahead and pop that in there. Any questions you have along the way, you can post those as well, and we'll do our best to read and walk and talk at the same time. But Paris, why don't you give us a little background information on the Estuarium?
Yeah, so the Estuarium was founded, the South Sound Estuary Association founded the Estuarium. And the South Sound Estuary Association arose from a lot of interest in having a marine center here in the Olympia area in Thurston County. So especially people wanted a marine center that incorporated both marine and especially estuary ecological education. And so that's kind of how it came to be. Eventually they occupied this building, this facility where we are now in 2014. And so, that's kind of the way it got started. The nonprofit got incorporated in 2007 and then moved into this permanent, semi-permanent, we'll talk about that later, facility in 2014, been here ever since. So, yeah.
Awesome, love it. Yes, I apologize for the sound quality. We're all wearing our masks because we're indoors right now, so we'll try to speak loudly for you. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know that sound is a little tricky, but cool. So first things first, I think we should probably figure out what's an estuary.
Well, yeah, so an estuarium is a made-up word. It's a combination of estuary and aquarium.
All right.
And so there's two estuariums in the United States that we know of, one in Florida and us.
All right.
So we're the Puget Sound Estuarium, to be more specific and place-based.
There you go. And all of Puget Sound is an estuary, technically, right? There's 10,000 rivers and streams flowing into it.
So the Puget Sound, or the Salish Sea itself, too, so Salish Sea is all the water up into Canada, is the largest estuary by volume of water, so we change water out. And so estuaries is the fresh water that's coming off the land and is mixing with the salt water from the Pacific Ocean. That makes an estuary. And then we have pocket estuaries, or smaller, tiny estuaries that are around the system. So right out of our front door is the Deschutes estuary system, and that's where most of the animals that you'll see today are coming from, is out in Bud Inlet, or the Deschutes estuary.
Awesome. And to give you a little more sense of place, here we go.
Yeah, perfect.
We are more familiar with Caseland and Henderson Bay. Right there is kind of where Harbor Wild Watch is operating more out of. But you can see our whole area around us is made up of these various different inlets. And we're down here.
The most southern point of the sound is where you're at today.
We're as low as you can go, I guess. All right, I feel like I've got a limbo, right? Let's see a little tour of what we've got. Oh, we've got the cooperative creature here.
So this is our rough-skinned newt. We have Fig and Olivia. They're both female rough-skinned newts that we have gotten from one of our local estuary systems called McLean Creek. They are a freshwater species here, and also the most deadly species we actually have inside our system. So that bright orange belly that you're looking at is a warning sign saying, "Do not eat me." They produce a tetrotoxin, so a neurotoxin that actually blocks your sodium channels, and that's how we move our muscles, how we breathe, and so it will paralyze you or make you suffocate or asphyxiate if you eat them. There has been a known death with them, unfortunately, so just don't eat them.
Don't eat them. All right, I was feeling hungry, but I guess...
I know, they look very delicious.
I'll find somebody else to snack on.
They're cute but fierce, and so even if you touch them, they can release the toxins, get them on your hands. If you touch your eyes, touch your nose, just like COVID, you can hurt yourself by touching them and then touching you. But we can also hurt them by touching them, because they don't have lungs. They breathe through their skin.
So that's a good point.
And dirt from our hands can actually hurt them from trying to breathe.
And they are just adorable.
They are adorable.
I love newts.
Yeah.
Cute but deadly is what I like to tell people.
Yeah, there you go.
And they, you know, it's to have the adaptation of being venomous allows you to move so slowly. You know?
Yeah, you don't have to
They're
have
like-
any other defenses.
Yeah, predators.
So the only predator to them is actually the garter snake. So they're in an arms race, which I think is really funny because snakes don't have arms. So they will become more toxic as our snakes are eating the ones that are less toxic, because our garter snakes don't use sodium channels to move. They use a different channel. And so when they eat them, they're not affected by them. So they're taking the weaker ones out, leaving the more toxic ones behind. And so they're become more intolerant of the poison that they're secreting, and then they're becoming more toxic. So one will either outlive the other
A little
eventually.
natural selection in action.
Yep.
I love it. You're just so cute.
And we feed them bloodworms, so we do live feedings via our Facebook and on our YouTube. So if you're interested in watching that, we do them every third Saturday.
There you
you can
go.
watch Fig and Olivia eat some delicious bloodworms.
They're so cute, and it's hard to tell when I'm zoomed in like that. We're not talking a very large creature here. Pretty small, but still.
Yes.
And that's full grown, so we got them when they were small juveniles. So they're about a year and a half old now.
Oh, they're darling. I could stare at Newts all day
I
long.
know, right? But we have more.
We have more. We have some more cool stuff to look at here.
So this is our intertidal ecosystem. So the things that you would see at low tide, we have some anemones. We have a green surf anemone, which is green because it actually houses an algae inside it, a plankton, that gives it the green color. So they don't actually need to eat anything because they get sugars from them living inside them. But they do
Little
have
solar panels in their skin, right?
Exactly. And so they do have thicker tentacles, and if an anemone usually has thicker tentacles, it means it's a predatory anemone. So it has those large cnidocytes, or the stinging cells, to barb on and hook on to the animals that pass through it. But this one doesn't have to eat during the summertime at all. So it becomes more predatory during the winter when there's less sunlight, less of that activity going on with the plankton living inside it.
Love it. They're just the most beautiful color.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. They get really big. These are the ones that you see mostly out on the coast, up on the rocks.
Big rocky reef
Yep.
habitats.
We also have our aggregate anemone. So this one's actually called DJ Marshmallow. One of our kids suggested the name. I thought it was amazing. They also have some plankton living in them. So at the very bottom, it looks a little more green.
Yeah, and these under the sunlight that you we see them on the beach and they're bright green.
Right, exactly. But here we feed them all the time, and so it doesn't need to have a large stock of algae inside it. So DJ Marshmallow, being an aggregate, can actually pull itself in the different directions and make a clone of itself by walking apart. And so if you're ever out on the coast, or you can see some of these aggregates, you'll see a battlefield, is what we like to call it, between two groups, because they can tell if they're related from each other.
Which is wild. Like,
And
how do they know?
There's no eyes, nothing.
Nothing.
And so if they tell that they're not related, they will actually wad up those cnidocytes, the stinging cells, and spitball them at each other until the other group moves away, far enough away. So yeah, you can sometimes see a
Little
strip.
no anemones land.
Yep, a strip in between. That's the no-go zone for them.
You
I
might be
love
able to
it.
see this drama played out if you go to our Meet the Beach program.
Oh yeah.
It's happening throughout the summer. It happens every summer. It's been going for like 10 years. We go to local beaches. We have a beach naturalist program, so we train beach naturalists for about 2 months, and then they go out into the field with a beach lead, usually an Estuarium contract educator or staff, and they go out and interpret what's on the beach and the intertidal ecosystem. And so, yeah, some of these things may be played out on the beach this summer. And
Get to watch it
Estuarium
live.
interpreter will be there to do some sideline announcing, you know?
Yeah, perfect. And how many beaches do you guys visit?
It varies year to year. Last year, we seriously pared down the program because of COVID. This year, we're actually back to almost full strength, about 75% full strength for Meet the Beach program. So we're going to be visiting 4 local beaches this year: Tolney State Park, Burfoot County Park, Priest Point Park, also a county park, and then we're also doing the Woodard Bay natural area.
Nice. All right. So for those of you watching who are a little bit sad that you can't come to our Harbor Wild Watch Get Your Feet Wet programs, which we're hosting all digital this year, you can tune in on Facebook. You can actually get your feet wet down here in the South Sound a little better.
And we do beach field trips with schools when school's in session. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we were streaming out of the estuarium, so we did live feedings with the tanks, talked about those adaptations that these animals use to survive out there, and we do private events too, either virtually or in person here at the estuary.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Well, tell me what are we looking at here?
So this is our new touch tank. It's not fully open to the public yet. We do one program right now, which is called Tiny Tide Story Time, which is a program that started online where we would read books and talk about marine animals. Now it's in person where you can come down, listen to a really cool story. It's geared towards children preschool to second grade, and then they get to actually touch some of the animals they're learning about. So inside this tank we have what you're looking at is a leather sea star. One of their defense mechanisms is if you touch them or agitate them, they will kind of release a musk onto your hand, which some people say smells like garlic or rotten eggs.
See, I smell almost like a bleachiness to it, and somebody else told me gunpowder. So I'm like, I mean, okay.
Maybe different leather stars have different.
Yeah, maybe based on their diet. I don't know.
So we have 2 leather stars in there, which feel much softer than the other sea stars that are in this tank. So we have a purple sea star or the ochre sea star. They have those spines that stick out of their skin. Echinoderms is the phylum, which it means spiky skin. We also have our mottled star
waving
over
hello
here.
to everyone. Hello,
yep, it's
mottled
actually
star.
staring at you. So they have their eyes at the end of their arms there. All of them are actually staring right now. So this one has 5 eyes to them, trying to check us out. We also have in here another animal of the Echinoderm phylum. These are our giant red sea cucumbers. This one here is called tomato. The other one in the corner here is called potato.
Okay, tomato and potato. All right, I love it.
They have those large spikes on them to act as a defense mechanism, but they're actually super soft. And so it's just kind of there to be scary.
They really do look terribly
Very
unappetizing, but when you know it, they're about as hard as Jello. It's not. It's less of a deterrent, I suppose.
So if you aren't scared by their appearance, which is pretty scary,
Visual defense is all.
Yeah.
if you decide to pick them up, one thing that they will do is really chillify. They'll limp. They'll let all their muscles go and try to play dead. And if that doesn't deter somebody from eating them, which I think that would be pretty gross to watch and try to eat, they will actually spew their guts out at the predator or on you, which so be careful.
Yes. Don't squeeze them.
Yep. Spew their guts out, which will stick onto you and distract you. And if you're a predator, you can eat them. And then the rest of this sea cucumber will run away and hide. So it survived, it loses a few organs, but it gets to grow them back over time.
I love it. And obviously there was some shrimp for breakfast this morning.
Shrimp is
Little leftovers.
Saving it for later.
So this is our new touch tank. Here, once COVID restrictions are lifted, we'll be able to take this out to events, to classrooms. So if you can't come out to the beach, you can still experience it here.
I love it. I love the idea of a cart.
We're still building it up a little bit. It's been because it's not open to the public yet. We're still kind of building up the biodiversity in there. We'll get some water features, and it'll be good to go.
Even better than it is now.
Better.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys have some cool shells.
Lots of shells here from all different places.
Yeah.
We have some that are from the area, but we also have some from Maine, Indo-Pacific, just showing the different biodiversity, how we have species here, but they also have relatives in other parts of the ocean, and how different they look depending on where they're from.
I love it. Do you have a favorite shell?
Yes, my favorite shell is the gumboot.
Oh, look at that.
My favorite. So the roly-polies of the sea is what I call them. This is the largest one. It looks like a deflated football.
Yeah,
So
they totally do. And I was noticing your smaller chitons there in the resin is a nice way to display that. I like that. Yeah, we're big fans of the mollusks at Harbor Wild Watch.
definitely love the unique critter.
Yes,
Yep.
love it. All right, tell us about this tank a little bit.
So this is our eelgrass tank. Eelgrass is a critical habitat for our salmon species. It's where the fry or the parr get big and large, and also start their transition from the freshwater streams to the saltwater in that estuary system. Unfortunately, a lot of our eelgrass was destroyed due to shoreline armoring, and when we started producing a lot of our shellfish out here, the habitat was destroyed. And so now there's a lot of places that are restoring this eelgrass. And so this tank is highlighting the importance of it. So you're staring at Petey and Percy, which are our shiner perch.
I love the names.
They love to be on camera. They think that you're trying to feed them right now.
Yeah, they totally have begging eyes at me.
Petey and Percy, you'd probably see them in larger schools out in the wild. And they school up like that as a defense mechanism because it's less likely that they would be eaten if there's more of them around. Also, when they're in a school, they shine or shimmer, and they're trying to act like the shimmering tops of the water. So if you were a bird, they would be camouflaging in.
I love it. And you've got a little stickleback
Yeah,
friend.
we got some sticklebacks.
Oh, two.
Two
Hi,
of
friends.
them back there are sticklebacks, 3-spine sticklebacks, so they have the 3 spines that stick off their back. That's one of their defense mechanisms. Unfortunately, our male decided he wanted to mate and got into the brooding colors, and the females didn't want to mate. So
They're like,
unfortunately, with
sorry,
our
dude.
sticklebacks, when the males are brooding, it puts a lot of energy, so they don't survive afterwards.
Oh, bummer.
Let's
Cool to see. I just love big swimmy fish, you know?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, they're obviously the hardest ones for us to collect, but we do like it when we can get some.
Yeah.
And Petey and Percy are actually one of our oldest fish that we have. They're about 5 years old.
Oh, that's
And
pretty
so
great.
in Shiner perch years, that's very
Yeah,
old.
they're ancient shiner perch. I love it. Oh, fun coloring. Yeah, you can't have
Yeah,
kids
so-
space without some coloring. Ooh, and a quarantine tank.
Yeah, we got our quarantine.
We know all about
tank.
quarantine, I feel.
We actually have been just starting to do collections again with beaches not really being necessarily open or being open only part of the time, or some of our programs like Peer and where we do most of our collections. Our collections have been reduced pretty dramatically during COVID. So now that
Sure.
we've reopened and are just kind of getting our tanks populated again, starting to do collections again. So it's always really a good sign to see some, some crabs in our quarantine tank. It's been a while and it's really nice.
And these
Love
were
it.
collected during our crab program. We got crabs.
Yeah, what does crab stand
So
for?
crab is classroom robotics at Bud Bay. And so I have divers that will dive at Boston Harbor, go down to the artificial reef down there, collect some of the animals, put them in tanks for kids to see, and then we'll have our beach naturalists out there talking about those adaptations. We are allowed to touch the animals safely out there. And then we also have ROVs, which are remotely operated vehicles. So you get to put them together and then drive these underwater submarines around the dock.
So cool.
Yep, and then we have one of our great volunteers that has a setup that has a camera on it. So you can actually see your ROV underwater and then see the divers down below from that ROV.
Oh, fantastic. I love that so much. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when we can bust out our ROV and do some more footage with our dive team.
Yeah, I feel like kids, like my friends' kids, when I was a kid, I asked for all sorts of things, but they want like 3D printers
Yes.
and ROVs, and if they want to be scientists in this time, like using drones and ROVs and just tech in general is really the direction. So getting started young is what we're trying to do.
So what you're saying is I should let my kid play more video games. That's what he would say.
If it's conservation themed,
There you go.
I was gonna say, if you're good at Minecraft, then you're definitely good at controlling remote operated vehicles.
Oh, I love it. All right, well, tell me about this beautiful face staring right at us,
Oh my goodness.
because you are so darling.
So that is Rocky the rockfish. She's currently doing what all rockfish do, pretending to be a rock. So that's one of their biggest defense mechanisms, is blending in and staying very still. So if a fish comes by that's larger than her, it might try to eat her, or another predator like a seal. If she does move, then they're on her trying to get her. And if they are getting close enough, she does have those barbs on the back
Yeah,
that
check
will
those.
spike them.
Check those very serious spines. They're in the scorpion fish family, so they are venomous.
Yes, and as you can see, she also has spines around her.
Oh, yeah, on her gill
flaps,
plate.
and then on the tops of her face too. You can see that scarring around her face. So she's on loan from the Sea Discovery Center right now, and she was housed with an eel and an octopus that she would get into fights with.
Oh.
And so she has a little bit scarring. So her name Rocky is just it fits perfectly.
Well, we're getting some comments that Rocky rocks.
She's
Just slowly.
Starfish, or the sea stars the other day.
Yeah, so she is very, very feisty. She lives up to her name as a fighter. All the anemones are stuck down below where they can't get to her, or where she can't get to them, or stuck in the corner because she will actually flip them with her tail because she doesn't want them in her way.
That is hilarious.
She is definitely the queen of this tank.
Yeah, I would say so.
And we know that she's a female.
I love her. She's
and we
darling.
know that she's about 20 to 30 years old because she had a clutch of
Oh, so
eggs.
she's old enough to reproduce. That's
Yep.
great.
And this species of rockfish can live up to about 60 years.
Yeah.
You are so cute. I love all the grumpy looking fish the best.
At some point, she's going to have to go back to Sea Discovery Center, I think March 2022, and we're going to be really sad to have to part.
Yeah. Oh, you do get attached. I mean, I get attached to them.
Oh yeah, when she first got here, she didn't want to eat in front of people. We had to have all the lights shut off. We had to dangle it specifically for her. Now she loves us, and every time we're out
Yeah, now
here,
she's begging.
Yeah, she's begging for food, and if I don't feed her right away, if I feed one of the anemones, she's actually stealing their food before I give it to her. So,
That is hilarious.
she's
Fish.
definitely the queen. We also have Patrick, which is in the corner.
Oh,
That
yeah.
is our
Giant pink star.
Yep. Patrick also, one thing that's unique about him is that recently grew one of the arm backs. So the arms are a little shorter than the rest.
We didn't notice, Patrick. You look fabulous. Pretty in pink. Showing off those nice tube feet, all working together to suction cup and move along the side of the tank here. Love it. You can see their gills too a little bit on that top surface. The kind of fuzzy bits, they look a little fluffy, but that's how they breathe. So a mask would not work for you, my friend.
We also have our other types of anemones. So we have we have two painted back here. So we have an orange one. We have the Christmas tree. Which
Oh,
is
I
green
love the
and
Christmas.
red. We have another green surf in the top corner. And then one of my favorites is our rose anemone down here, which we've named Rosie.
I mean, how could you not?
Right? So this rose anemone likes to bury itself in the sand. It can stick up a little bit farther, but this way anything that passes through, it'll just kind of sneak attack out and grab it with those thick tentacles and eat it.
I most often find rose anemones with a half-eaten crab sticking out of their mouth, so that is a very effective hunting strategy, I think.
Yes, and that's why we don't have any crabs or any
Yes.
other large fish, because
Right.
this is nicknamed the Thunderdome because it houses all of our larger predatory animals in here.
They wouldn't last long.
They would not last long, right? That's for sure.
Rocky and the anemones would definitely take care of everything inside.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so tell me about this tank here.
So this is our Shellfish Tank. Taylor Shellfish has sponsored this tank for us. So we have Pacific shellfish or oysters in there, the Kumamoto oysters that were from Japan, and then we have the Olympia oyster, which is endemic to our waters. Unfortunately, due to overharvesting, we are now having to restore those habitats and restore the Olympia oyster back there into our Bud, Henderson, Eld, and Totten inlets.
Yeah, that's why Stina was intending to come. She's my other half, my partner in crime. She's actually laying oyster strings right now today. So she's like, oh, you got it. The tide won't wait. You could do it without me, right?
Yeah.
Here I am.
We have all of the different species that you would find in our South Sounds area, right here in the tank so that you can see them. We do an estuary life and landforms program with our school district here to talk about the estuaries that are out here. Our front window used to be the original shoreline to Olympia.
Wow.
Now there's about 29 extra blocks
Yeah.
of Olympia, and that is due to dredging, which is the taking of the soil or the dirt underneath the water, making it deeper for the cargo ships to come in and then putting it somewhere else. But they've used it to build downtown Olympia.
Got it.
About 200 years ago, that's when they started filling out downtown here. And with that, they're taking the soil away from the oyster beds, and then with over harvesting too, our oyster populations just started tanking. So we talk about the history and the importance of our oysters in our estuary system because they're filter feeders. They clean the water for us. One oyster can filter up to 40 gallons in a day, so we don't have to have filters inside this tank because they're cleaning it.
They would probably prefer you didn't have filters because
Exactly.
you need a little extra
it
snack.
dirty for
Yeah,
them
right.
Every day.
I love it. That's-
Yeah, hopefully at some point our oyster populations or filter feeders will be back to levels where they used to be so that Blood Inlet will again not be a toxic place for all animals, including ourselves, to swim and to live and gather food.
Yeah, those waterways that are almost closed off are just really susceptible to that.
Exactly.
So hopefully some oysters can help us out. I love it. I love seeing them. They're just, do you get attached to the oysters too, even though they don't have faces or eyeballs?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. I would definitely say our oysters are really fun to watch because they're an ecosystem themselves. So on top of their shells, it's a farm.
Yeah, I was just looking. There's a couple of
anemones.
tiny anemones.
So it's really interesting to see how this animal that most people don't think is alive or is a rock has living creatures on its back too.
Yeah, going out and checking out the oyster beds in low tide is pretty fascinating for sure. I could spend a whole afternoon doing it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, same. I love it. This is awesome. Well, do you want to take us into your other side?
Welcome to our lab room. So back here, this is our Natural History Museum, also where we do dissections and our experiments. Over here, we have a lot of our larger shellfish. So we have our gooey ducks, our gaper clams, our large California
Whoa, yeah,
mussels.
that is big.
We also have our moon snails. So talking about the importance of shellfish and also making sure that we clean up and the ways that we can make a difference to make sure the waterways are stay healthy enough for all of our shellfish. So picking up dog waste, making sure that whatever you're driving isn't leaking or dripping, carpooling, recycling, things to lower your carbon emissions to help out our shellfish. Because with the carbon emissions that's going into the air, the CO2 is being sequestered or soaked up by the ocean right now, and it's changing the chemical compound that a lot of our shellfish are using to build these hard shells, and our oceans are becoming more acidic. So for our shellfish to survive, we actually need to reduce that carbon emission to make sure the oceans are staying at a normal level, pH level. Otherwise, we're losing a lot of our shellfish and our economy here in Washington.
Yeah, it's a big business here, for sure.
One thing that we do a lot of is work with community partners like Capital Land Trust and South Sound Green, Thurston Conservation District, and several others to showcase how we can store carbon by restoring our nearshore and estuary ecosystems and our riparian areas. Just all of that input into the water actually doesn't just reflect in biodiversity and increased biodiversity on the shore, but it actually reflects that in the ocean too. And so, in our marine and our estuary environment. So, part of what we do is we do the education part of it, but we work with our community partners to give kids and people of all ages the option to not just learn about the doom and gloom of what climate change is doing to our oceans, but how we can do something, what we can do about it, and who we can work with specifically in our region to offset those emissions and to change ocean acidification.
I love it. I love the connectedness and not letting people feel helpless. That's great. All right, so I have to ask, what's your favorite dead specimen?
Oh, goodness. All right, so this is mine. It's right here. I don't know what yours is.
You know you're not a true biologist unless you have a favorite dead thing.
So
Oh,
yeah,
sandworm.
it's intense.
So
yeah.
cool. So you're actually staring at its proboscis, which most people know proboscis from a butterfly, but it's the mouthpiece that comes out of the body so it can eat. This is usually hidden inside its body here. but it has these jaws. So it's a hidden jaw that when it's hungry or ready to grab something, it'll literally shoot out of its body, use the jaw pieces to latch on, and then pull the animal down into its body. Because it doesn't have arms, it doesn't have legs to pull it down, so it has to use that scary jaw.
So this is one reason what we always preach when we're at the beach is don't move animals around, because if you pick this animal up, it will surely bite you.
Yes.
And I've seen it many times. And it being on the beach and having wet hands, it bleeds a lot, and so kids freak out when it happens. It does hurt too, I imagine, but
yeah. And so you're seeing all of these little. They're bristle-like hairs that help them move in the sand. If you ever see them swimming, those are the ragworms, and so they use these little bristles to actually swim through the water. But these are the thing of nightmares. If you ever watch Trimmers, these are
these are the graboids, right?
These are the inspiration, and that's why I love it.
Fantastic. Do you have a favorite?
Obviously, well, I'm a sucker for octopi. So,
I mean,
my favorite is the right octopus. I think, especially based on research that is still being done, we just know so little about octopi. We know so little about the entire genus and just what they're capable of doing. I mean, capable of changing your DNA at will. I mean, that is just beyond my
wild.
comprehension.
I love.
So there's just so much we don't know about them. There's such a complex creature, such a complex genus in general. I think that it's just. And the fact that we have giant Pacific octopi,
yeah, they're right here.
As close as the Comoneros or even closer, the Hood Canal is just fascinating. So,
yeah, fantastic. I love it.
Or the sea squirt, that's another one.
That's a huge one.
Yeah, so sea squirts, tunicates, ascidians. It's a creature that if you touch it, it'll squirt water at you. So that's why it's called a sea squirt.
Good name.
But this is your closest invertebrate relative. So they start off chordata, the spinal cord. So they start off with one, and then it regresses once they turn into adults, which just baffles my mind.
I had a mom tell me, she goes, "Oh, so like a teenager, it just sits and eats," and I was like, "Yeah, you're not wrong. That is." I like to say it's the only animal that turns willingly into a vegetable, which just like a brain dead person. I love it.
Yeah, sea squirts, that's what I love to talk about, because most people are just like, oh, it's nothing. I was like, well, that's your relative. Right?
So we would normally have our whole microscopes out here, just several microscopes during COVID. And like I said, we're coming cautiously out of COVID, we still have signs, as you can see around, like, don't touch this, have a volunteer or a staff person, show it to you and answer questions. We're still slowly coming out of that and allowing a little bit more interaction with our specimens, especially. And so we're not quite sure about kids, touching and being right up on all of our microscopes all the time.
Well, it's hard to disinfect an entire microscope, and you gotta kind of touch it all over to use it. So we understand that too.
We're getting there, but we're cautiously kind of opening up things like that. And when it's safer, when most people are vaccinated, is when we'll bring the microscopes back out. So probably, I would think like fall.
Yeah, perfect.
And before then, if you really are interested in microscopes or learning more about these specimens, we are doing summer camp with COVID safe precautions. And so we'll have microscopes out looking and doing plankton toes, looking at the biodiversity like that. Or we do have a dissecting microscope that is hooked up to this TV.
Love it.
And so you can see everything moving. We had some sea stars spawn out the other day, so we had them up on the screen, which is great. So if you are interested, there are opportunities to still work with the scientific equipment that we have around here.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Our lead interpreters are amazing too. They will lead you all throughout, our facility, and they'll show you, spotting sea stars through the microscope on our projector. They'll do. They are just amazing at explaining and interpreting intertidal life and all its forms here in Sussex.
I love it. Well, you guys have a program going on tonight. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Again.
So Here is one of my favorite events that we do. We go out to Boston Harbor, we drop some lights into the water to attract the plankton, which then attracts fish, then attracts squid, and then we even had a harbor seal eat the squid that was in the lights. So we
Love
have
it.
a lot going on with the biodiversity, especially at night, but a lot of people don't go to our beaches or don't go to the marinas. And so during that, we actually have scoops, so you can help us scoop up some of the animals that we're seeing. We'll help identify them, key them out, talk about those cool adaptations that allows them to hunt at night. And then that same volunteer who has this ROV will also have this ROV down at the bottom with a screen, so you can see what's happening down below, what's happening up towards the lights. So that is our peer-peer event that happens twice a month during our warm months, and then during the winter we do it once a month since the biodiversity isn't that great during the winter months around here.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, it's cold. Who wants to hang out on the dock?
It's hard to be out there for sure. Speaking of Matt, our volunteer who works with the crab program and peer-peer, we have a really robust volunteer program. And if you want to volunteer with us, you can just check it out on our website, pugetsoundestuarium.org. Go to the volunteer tab and look into volunteering with us. We usually have, historically, we've had about 80 volunteers with active hours per year. So,
Awesome.
And we're building.
Yeah,
that
slowly
up
getting back into it.
because we have only been, we were all virtual for the last year, except for basically the last couple of months, aside from summer camps in 2020. And so we have, been re-recruiting and getting our old volunteers to come back to us. A lot of our old guard from several years of doing Meet the Beach is coming back from Meet the Beach this year. We're really happy about that. And getting our new volunteer signups, placing them in actual volunteer opportunities instead of just being on deck waiting for something that they can do with us. So it's an exciting time to be a volunteer at the Estuarium. Everything is ramping back up again.
I love it. It's really inspiring to hear that you have so many people in the area just who want to contribute and help out. And
a lot of our staff actually started off as a volunteer, myself included. I started off volunteering with the peer-peer program, and then did our Meet the Beach training, which we train all the volunteers, all the knowledge you'll need, and then slowly, gradually worked my way up, and then got a job here. So.
now here you are. I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a career path. It's for most folks who have worked at the Estuarium. I'm not an anomaly who got plucked out of grad school. But yeah, I mean, we have a really great contract educator program. Ariel is your lead on that. That's a paid program. You can do contract educator hours with us, and it's usually like a little bit more complex than a volunteer shift.
Sure.
There's more training and more responsibility that's involved. So great for a resume if you're interested in getting into natural sciences. It's a really cool program.
We also have 2 internships we're recruiting for right now. Applications are due May 21st. We have a communications and community development intern, so helping us be more accessible to all community members, and specifically targeting our Latino and Hispanic communities to translate everything in here so that we can have multiple translations, and then also reaching out to the communities to see what they're wanting for programs, because we all come from different backgrounds, different natural resource uses, and so we want to make sure all of our programs are accessible to everyone in the community. Also with that, we're recruiting for environmental education and nonprofit intern. So working summer camps with me all summer and doing our weekend programs like our bird tours or bird walk, our sea stroll, which is our historic walking tour, our Tiny Tides program with the touch tank, and then also we have some light feedings and other programs that come up throughout the summer.
Yeah.
Peer-peer.
And peer-peer. Yeah, right.
Peer-peer, Meet the Beach, and so those 2 internships are also paid, and you can find more information about volunteering, contract educator, or internships all on our website at thepugetsoundestuarium.org, or email me directly.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you for your time today. I'm super excited. I love knowing that this is here, and I can't believe this is my first time being here in all these years. I mean, I guess every low time I'm busy working, and I can't come to your beach when I'm on my own beach, so.
Yeah, and you can come to us. We're online. Our website houses a lot of online learning too. We also have a Facebook that we do live streams to. We also have a YouTube channel that has lessons with curriculum to them. So if you're a teacher, check that out.
Love it.
So yeah, if you can't come to us, we're online too.
Perfect. All right, any last pearls of wisdom that you want to throw at us?
Yeah, one last thing that I'll say is right now, just a quick update about our development. It's sort of 5 years development is we're in this facility at present, but we're partnering with the Port of Olympia to expand to Marine Center building. It will be on the Port Peninsula. So right now we work with, we're completely packed in here in our 1,250 square foot facility. We'll be moving to a 4,000 square foot facility that's state of the art. We'll have a state of the art lab and classroom space and bigger tanks for our animals and everything.
Awesome.
So we'll keep you all posted. A lot of updates about that. We'll be running a capital campaign, and this year we'll be helping to design our facility and to do a lot of planning and design work for the new facility. So it's exciting times at the Estuarium. If you want to know more, you can always email me, or just keep checking out our website and social media for updates.
I love it. Well, thanks you both for your time. It's been awesome to get in and see just what great work you're doing here. Definitely, it's the kind of thing that I would be doing if I wasn't already doing it. So thanks, everybody. If this is something that you want to be more involved with, of course, check out that website and the Facebook page and social media links, and head over to YouTube as well. Thanks for tuning in with us, and we'll catch up with you sometime soon.
Bye.
Bye.